What would you do if the person you love, your partner and the father of your children, admitted he would choose his deceased wife over you? In today's story, my response to that devastating hypothetical became a masterclass in how to fight for my marriage without sacrificing my own dignity. First, to clear up a common question, alcohol wasn't a significant factor in what happened. My husband, Mark, is a big guy, 6 feet 3 inches and nearly 250 pounds. He'd had a lot to eat and only one beer. He was essentially sober. This wasn't a drunken slip of the tongue. This was something else. After the potluck, after our friends had gone home, the house was filled with a thick, suffocating silence. The next day, after a night of barely any sleep, I knew we had to talk. I sent our kids, a toddler and a very young daughter, to my parents for the weekend. I needed us to have the space to confront this head-on, without the distraction of parenting. I found Mark in the living room, looking lost. I told him I wanted to speak first and asked him not to interrupt, which he rarely does anyway. My hands were trembling slightly, but my voice was steady. I started, choosing my words carefully, drawing from the points many of you had made. I want you to know that I don't hate you for what you said. I began. I understand, on some level, where it came from. She was your first love, and she died tragically. It was something neither of you saw coming. I have never, ever asked you to forget her or get over her. I've always known how much you loved her. I've always understood that if she hadn't passed away, you and I probably wouldn't be together right now. You two would likely still be married. I've made my peace with that reality, but hearing you say it out loud, in front of our friends, was deeply hurtful and humiliating. It wasn't just a hypothetical. It felt like you were telling me, and our children, that if the impossible happened and she came back, you would leave us. It was one of the worst things anyone has ever said to me. It's clear to me that your feelings about her are still incredibly raw, that this wound has never closed. That's why I need you to get individual counseling, and I need us to start couples counseling immediately. The effect was instantaneous. His face crumpled, and tears welled in his eyes. He started apologizing profusely, his voice thick with emotion. He stammered about how he never meant to hurt me, how ashamed he was for embarrassing me like that. He admitted that he'd been replaying the moment in his head before he fell asleep, and realized instantly that it was a thought he should have kept locked away inside. He said he would never, ever leave me or our children, and that his statement was just a horribly worded, poorly thought-out response. He wasn't thinking clearly, he claimed, and the second the words left his mouth, he knew they had come out wrong. I pushed a little. How would you feel if I had said that about an old love to you? He didn't hesitate. Yeah, it's bad. I know, he said, shaking his head. I shouldn't have said it. I wouldn't be happy. I know you aren't happy. I should have apologized to you right there in front of everyone, or just not said it at all. To make him truly understand the weight of his words, I brought our children into it. Think about them, Mark. What you said is the equivalent of looking our kids in the eye and saying, "Hey, if my dead wife were to walk through that door right now, I'd pack my bags and you'd never see me again." The air went out of the room. The silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. Then, in a small voice, he asked me if I wanted a divorce. At that moment, by asking if I wanted a divorce, Mark revealed his deepest fear, that his one thoughtless comment had shattered everything. He wasn't just sorry, he was terrified he had already lost me. Instead of answering, I deflected. "Why would you think I'd want a divorce?" I asked, wanting to hear his reasoning. He just mumbled that he didn't know. I let his question hang in the air and reiterated my position. "We need to look into counseling," I said firmly. "You need it for yourself, and we need it as a couple. If the answer to that is no, then I am not interested in moving forward." I had to make him see that this was no longer just about his comment. It was about his willingness to put in the work to fix what he had broken. If he dismissed my feelings or refused counseling, it would tell me he didn't think the situation was serious, and by extension, that he didn't take me or our marriage seriously. I told him this directly. The rest of the day was excruciating. He offered to sleep on the couch. I didn't tell my parents what was happening. I wanted to keep this between us, away from the quick judgments and extreme advice of family. He kept looking at me all day, this heavy, mournful stare, like he wanted to say more but couldn't find the words. The kids being gone left a void, filled only by our shared tension. He realized I hadn't been eating and kept trying to get me to have something, his concern a palpable presence in the house. I finally agreed to dinner, and it was then that he showed me the first glimmer of true change. He told me he'd already started looking up counselors online and wanted me to look at the list he'd made. This was the single most important moment. His agreement wasn't just about saving our marriage. It was about finally acknowledging that his grief was a wound that had never truly healed, and it was now poisoning the present. He had been in counseling for about a year after her death but stopped when he moved away and never started again. He knew it wasn't enough. One commenter, a widow herself, put it perfectly, and her words echoed in my mind. She said that I should never have to accept being second to his first wife, and that by staying in a place of regret, he would miss the beautiful family we have built together. His mental health journey is his responsibility. He couldn't keep treating me like a second choice, a consolation prize. Another commenter offered a perspective that made so much sense of Mark's state of mind. They pointed out that his late wife died during the honeymoon stage, before the real-world struggles of a long-term marriage could set in. He wasn't just grieving a person, he was grieving a perfect, idealized memory. Any future partner would be competing with a ghost, a battle that is impossible to win. It wasn't until he got real counseling that he could see his memories weren't a realistic benchmark. Seeing him take that first step, looking for counselors on his own, meant more than 1,000 apologies. A man who didn't love me wouldn't do that. He would have dismissed my feelings or rejected the idea of therapy altogether. I told him that I appreciated the apologies, but what I needed now was work and change. This is just the first step. I don't want to leave him. I'm not staying just for the kids. I'm staying because I believe our marriage is worth trying to fix. But divorce is not off the table. If, after everything, it can't be fixed, at least I will know that I tried. He agreed to individual and couples counseling, and we're fortunate that our insurance can help cover it. For now, we are moving forward, one fragile step at a time. This story teaches us that true love isn't just about the good times. It's about the deep, unwavering commitment to do the hard work when unresolved pain from the past threatens to destroy the future. It's about being willing to face the ghosts together. So, I have to ask you, if you were in my shoes, faced with that same heartbreaking confession, would you have given him the chance to fix things? Or would the hurt have been too much to overcome? Let me know in the comments.